Hi everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on streamlining your project management brought to you by ManageEngine Analytics Plus. I'm really excited for you to join us today. If this is the first webinar that you're joining us for, welcome and it's great to have you with us. If you've come back from some of the previous ones we've done, we're very happy to have you back. My name is Rajat Arora and I'm an evangelist and solution expert at ManageEngine, working closely with the Analytics Plus team. My goal with this presentation is to help project managers gain better insights into their team and processes by creating custom reports and dashboards from the data generated by the project management tool. A few things before we begin. Please use the live chat on the right hand side of the page to connect with our team and solve any questions that you might have during the course of the webinar. You can also directly connect with me by sending me an email on the address mentioned on the screen, that is rachit@manageengine.com. If you use any other project management software other than Jira, do not worry. You can always reach out to us and we can help you connect the tool you use to ManageEngine Analytics Plus. The reports and dashboards that I'll be showing you in this webinar are applicable to almost any Agile project management workflow or tool. Let's get started. Today's webinar will go something like this. In part 1, we will understand the various factors that project managers have to take into consideration and balance out to ensure a smooth and streamlined project management workflow. Part 2 will cover the world of Agile and how Jira has become the de facto project management tool for Agile teams worldwide. We will also dig into some of the major shortcomings and problems that most Jira users face. Part 3 will address how you can overcome these shortcomings with the use of advanced analytics. In this section, I will also introduce various reports, KPIs, and dashboards that you can create without any coding or advanced technical skills. The reports and visualizations that I'll be showing you will help address some of the major questions that project managers have today and will ultimately help you plan and execute your projects in a streamlined manner while also having a holistic view of your team and product goals and milestones. We all know one thing for sure. Project managers have an incredibly tough job. At any point of time, managers are required to balance various elements, each of which are incredibly tough in their own right. Out of a plethora of things that project managers need to address and balance, there are 3 things that stand out the most. The first is the project at hand. Either it's a product being shipped, a feature being added, or an issue being rectified. Having an overarching and holistic view of the entire project while also having a solid hold of the current task at hand is incredibly challenging. Furthermore, having the foresight to ensure each new addition or subtraction aligns with the overall vision adds to the growing complexity. The second factor that managers control is the people factor. This includes the team that the manager is in charge of, the internal stakeholders to which she or he answers to, and also the external stakeholders such as customers and clients. Each group comes with their own requirements that all need to be addressed and tracked by the manager. The third and one of the most important is time. Ensuring all activities are running on time and moving at the right pace and on track to meet the set deadlines and milestones is probably the first requirement on the job description of any manager. All the mentioned elements are over and above factors such as quality and alignment with overall vision. With so much on their plate, project managers face some major physical and psychological barriers. The biggest psychological barrier that I'm sure even you have faced is that of tunnel vision. This is when managers tend to focus too much on the micro and lose track of the bigger picture or the macro. A lot of factors tend to drive this psyche. A few examples of these factors are as follows. A lack of top-level data that prevents one from getting an overarching view of the overall progress of their team and processes. Limited insights into various processes, allowing one to understand the status and identifying bottlenecks at a glance. a lot of technical jargon like sprints, burn down, velocity, epics, and such that accompany project management, causing a high level of cognitive overload. And finally, the issues surround multiple variable factors that managers have to deal with on a daily basis around people and processes that eventually lead to reactive resolutions even after formulating a proactive plan. I'm sure all of us have faced times when projects don't go as per plan and one thing leads to another, causing the entire project to go off track. This is when project managers turn to time tested and proven processes and tools to plan, manage, and track their work. Undoubtedly, Agile has become the most popular process mainly for development teams the world over, with Stack Overflow stating that 85.9% of developers have adopted Agile, and studies and surveys by other major sources, such as the one shown here by Forbes, shows a clear superiority of Agile in today's workplace. But Agile, a philosophy that finds its origin in the Agile Manifesto almost 2 decades ago, has gone beyond the scope of just development teams and has pollinated into almost all other areas of business, including but not limited to HR, marketing, IT, and admin, to name a few. With its broad usage across businesses and enterprises alike, it makes sense for any project manager to try and adopt this tested process to align and streamline their activities. And arguably, Jira has become one of the most popular and known agile management tools used by teams across business verticals and geographies. With offerings such as Jira software for development teams, Jira code for business users, and the flexibility to choose from workflows such as Kanban and Scrum, allowing different teams and projects to align the tool to their unique workflows, Jira has become the de facto tool for any project manager looking to ease their workload by aligning to Agile. While using Jira, managers try to answer many pressing questions to help juggle and balance various aspects of their job. Questions revolve around the project, such as status on the feature being launched and the project's overall progress. Or questions about the team, such as how is the workload on their team members, or whether they have adequate resources or not to meet their goals. And obviously, questions pertaining to time and whether the team is on track to meet its set goals and milestones. To answer these important questions, as well as get a top-level holistic view on their processes, managers turn to the inbuilt reports in Jira. But this is where they face a major barrier. Jira's inbuilt reports have some major drawbacks that limit the insights that one can derive from it. Jira comes with just 11 out-of-the-box reports that do not have many options for customizing the sort of insights you can derive. With limited filters and functionality, users are mostly stuck using a couple of reports or having to export this data into Excel and spend hours, if not days, trying to make sense of it. With no option to create custom reports or correlate your Jira data with data from other business applications or data from other business units, managers are unable to answer most of their pressing questions and end up back to where they started. They are stuck with a tunnel vision problem and end up firefighting and addressing issues reactively rather than having the foresight to proactively predict issues and have an executable action plan driven by data-driven insights. The problem has gotten so bad that TechCrunch stated, and I quote, Jira implicitly teaches everyone to ignore the larger vision while focusing on the details. There is no whole, just the disintegration of the macro vision. End quote. What that basically means is that Jira has just become a tool to break down a task into smaller bits, thereby causing an overall loss of vision. That means Jira does not really solve the tunnel vision problem that we had discussed earlier. This is why I'm very excited to announce the launch of ManageEngine Analytics Plus for Jira Software and Jira Core, built around the needs of modern project managers and teams. With the support for both Jira Software and Jira Server, ManageEngine Analytics Plus brings the power of advanced self-service analytics and business intelligence to Jira users using both cloud and server versions of the tool. With the flexibility to deploy Analytics Plus on your Windows or Linux server, or with a public cloud provider of your choosing, ManageEngine Analytics Plus makes it simple and easy to hit the ground running and get insights from your Jira data in just a few minutes. Analytics Plus is a product from ManageEngine, the company behind the largest and most comprehensive IT management product portfolio in the world. With an offering of over 90 products and tools to manage and secure your business, ManageEngine has a solution to some of your biggest business challenges. I would urge you to visit our website at www.manageengine.com to take a glimpse at what we have to offer. I'm sure you'll find a tool that'll help ease your business problems. All products come with a 30-day free trial with no credit card or commitment required. The goal of Analytics Plus for Jira is to allow managers and users the flexibility to build almost any report or dashboard that you can imagine, while also providing a self-service platform that provides extensive reports and dashboards right out of the box so that you don't have to waste time manually creating reports or spend much time in importing or manipulating your data. ManageEngine Analytics Plus for Jira comes with over 100 out-of-the-box reports and dashboards. With just a few clicks, your Jira data is securely analyzed right on your server and reports and insights generated, allowing you an immediate deep dive into your project data. This eliminates hours of work trying to understand the data and then create custom reports and dashboards, giving you an incredible base to jumpstart your analysis. ManageEngine Analytics Plus is easy to set up and deploy and can be done in just a few minutes. It integrates with both cloud and server versions of Jira software and Jira Core, allowing development teams and business teams alike to take advantage of the advanced analytics and insights. With granular and highly customizable filters and visualization options, you can create reports, KPIs, or dashboards based on the filtered data from specific projects, sprints, time periods, or even based on data from multiple Jira instances. Create highly specific reports and dashboards to suit your specific needs or answer your specific questions based on real-time data. ManageEngine Analytics Plus comes with out-of-the-box reports for backlogs, epics, estimation, sprints, and more. You have the option to further customize and personalize these out-of-the-box dashboards or even create completely new dashboards with custom widgets and reports. With the power to import your data from other business applications, databases, and third-party sources, your ManageEngine Analytics Plus truly becomes the single source of truth to get complete visibility into your business processes and workflows. For the power users, you now have the ability to manipulate data with Excel-type formulas right within ManageEngine Analytics Plus and use the computed data to create, visualize, and manipulate your business data to derive specific insights based on your unique requirements. ManageEngine Analytics Plus is built completely with self-service in mind, meaning that you do not need any specific training or skills to be able to take advantage of the tool. With a simple drag and drop report builder, you can create reports and dashboards with ease. With inbuilt forecasting and natural language processing, powered by a homegrown AI engine, you just have to type or speak out your question, and Analytics Plus will automatically derive business insights by creating reports and KPIs to help answer your question. With the ability to drill down into your data, you now have a contextual and holistic view of your entire project and team, allowing you to identify bottlenecks visually and conduct a root cause analysis to identify and resolve problems at every step of your process workflow. Data security is a key cornerstone for any analytics tool, and ManageEngine Analytics Plus gives you complete control on who has access to the data based on individuals, groups, and teams. Furthermore, with advanced sharing options, Analytics Plus also becomes the collaboration center around which your data-driven discussions revolve. You also have the ability to export reports in multiple formats or create role-specific reports and dashboards, filtered to an individual level for a degree of personalization that you previously wouldn't have thought possible. Let's now take a look at some reports and dashboards created with ManageEngine Analytics Plus for Jira that help answer some of the pressing questions that we had seen earlier and also give you an idea of the level of reports and insights that you can achieve by connecting your Jira software instance with ManageEngine Analytics Plus. Sprint velocity is a very popular metric used industry-wide, and you might have heard of it before. It is a metric that allows managers to understand the work being completed by their team, sprint by sprint, based on the story points being completed in total. It is calculated by dividing the total number of story points completed by the total number of sprints. This is a simple visual representation of a team running 6 sprints, each with variable story points achieved. Let's now use Analytics Plus to visualize the average velocity, that is, average number of story points completed across the 6 sprints. So we click on Edit Design, go to Settings, and choose Threshold. Over here we can choose Average, give it a name and a color, and click Apply. As you can see, across the 6 sprints, we have an average velocity of 26.16, so approximately 26 story points achieved per sprint. Let's take this one step further and create a visualization to monitor deviations and fluctuations, taking the average velocity as the baseline. Based on the data we just saw, 26 story points would be considered as 100% velocity, and we have stated an upper and lower threshold to determine an acceptable range. As you can see, we have a very useful visualization on how our team is performing in terms of story points achieved, and we have an acceptable range to accommodate for variations across sprints. If the velocity falls below the lower threshold, the manager would have to take immediate action and analyze further to understand what caused the drop. If it goes above the upper threshold, then we need to understand what drove that increase and if that can be replicated further to improve the overall velocity of the team over the currently set baseline. In the next chart, we start focusing on the people aspect. That's where we try and understand how accurate our story point estimations are and use the same data to also compare the proficiency or rate of completion between 2 or more users. Here we have a chart. It shows you an average of the hours taken by the user to complete a specific task based on the story points chosen for the task and the kind of task at hand. So the kind of task is given in the category filter. So you can switch between multiple tasks and see how the user has performed. So we can see Ali has taken 6 hours to complete an API integration task with a story point of 8. Similarly, what we can do is start comparing 2 or more users to understand how much time she or he takes to complete a task of a particular type and a set story point. This will help us allocate tasks based on user proficiency, allowing us to increase our overall capacity to complete tasks as a team during the sprint. So I can choose a second user, let's take Tom, and understand which user is better at doing a root cause analysis. From this report, we can clearly see that Tom takes much lesser time than Ali to complete a root cause analysis task. As you can see, across the board, Tom has taken much lesser time than Ali to complete the same task, irrespective of story point. Taking an example at story point of 8 for a root cause analysis task, Tom has taken 4.3 hours, while Ali has taken 6.23 hours for the same. This clearly goes to show that Tom is much more experienced in root cause analysis and can complete the same task faster than Ali. Similarly, this report shows us that Ali is much better in data modeling than Tom. It is clear that her proficiency lies in data modeling rather than doing a root cause analysis, as this is evident from her taking much lesser time than Tom across the board for this task, irrespective of story point. Whereas if you look at something like an API integration, both of them take approximately the same amount of time across the board. So you could say that they're both equally proficient in this category of work. The next report is one of my favorite ones. This report helps us get a complete view of the team's overall proficiency based on category or type of work and then also allows us to drill down to a specific user and view how she or he has spent their time in terms of story points achieved across various types of tasks. As you can see, we have the total story points achieved on the y-axis and the various categories of work on the x-axis. Each user is differentiated by a color, and the size of the bubble is a visual indicator of the total story points achieved by the user in that particular category. This way, managers have a complete overview of the team's proficiency and skill distribution. Very interestingly, this report also helps users identify gaps in the skill chain. Let's take a look at this gap that we have in the lower part of the front end category. This indicates most of the people working in the front end tend to be highly skilled and are probably working on tasks of higher story points. That is, tasks that require more experience and skills. Let's say a small issue comes up, such as a CSS change. We really don't have any lower experienced front-end developer to handle it. And by assigning a simple task to a highly experienced user, we wouldn't actually be optimally utilizing our resources at hand. You can further use the user filter to drill down to a specific user to view a single user proficiency level. This sort of report is a direct representation of how the users spend their time across various types of tasks in previously completed projects. You can view multiple users and understand their various proficiency levels. For example, Pembroke was one of the most efficient people in RC and had the most amount of story points. And from this visualization, we can clearly see that Pembroke is highly efficient in root cause analysis, whereas has also spent a little bit of time in QA, logging, and load testing in the past. Commitment reliability is a metric to determine the reliability factor of your team and understand if your team has been able to meet their commitments in the past. We've set the threshold in the following ranges. If your team has achieved over 90% of their commitments, it's an acceptable range, but anything between 75 and 90 would need some looking into. Any commitment reliability below 75 is extremely concerning and needs immediate action. This is a commitment reliability dashboard. So as you can see, we have the various sprints on the x-axis and the total commitment reliability percentage on the y-axis. On hovering, we can see in sprint 1, the team had committed a total of 29 story points and also completed the same number. Therefore, we have a commitment reliability of 100% in sprint 1. Whereas in sprint 3, the team committed a total of 16 story points but were only able to achieve a total of 10 story points. We have an average threshold line that goes across that shows us that the team's overall commitment reliability lies somewhere around 85%. The same average value can also be applied to a widget on a dashboard within Analytics Plus that shows you a visual representation of the team's overall average commitment reliability. Effort estimation variance is a visual representation of how accurate our estimations for a sprint are and how much the team deviates from its estimate. The data is a great factor to understand your team's capacity and manage this capacity over the long term. Effort is best estimated based on time-based data. So, for the report that I'll be showing you, I have taken the total hours estimated to the actual hours spent to visualize the variance. So, this is a effort estimation variance chart. We have the various sprints on the x-axis and the total effort estimation variance on the y-axis. Hovering on the first sprint, we can see that it was estimated that the first sprint would take 130 hours, but the actual hours it took was 40. This is expected as the first sprint wouldn't always have the perfect estimate. As we can see, we overestimated the first sprint by almost 70%. The second sprint has no variance as the sprint was completed in the expected amount of time. The third sprint, marked in red, shows us that the estimated hours was 140, whereas the actual hours it took to complete the task was about 200. So it shows us that we underestimated the time required by almost 43%. We have set thresholds on the chart stating that if the variance increases over 25%, we would need to be alerted, and if the variance drops below 15%, we need to be alerted. So if the variance drops below 15%, it's a cause for concern. Obviously, we do not want to either overestimate or underestimate the time required, because if we overestimate, it means we could have added many more tasks in the same sprint. And if we underestimate, we're not going to be able to reach our targets on time. Understanding the quality of work done is another factor that project managers have to grapple with. And one metric that can help project managers understand the quality is the defect leakage trend. Defect leakage is an indicator derived by attaining the percentage of defects or bugs identified in a sprint to the defects that leak out into subsequent stages. That is, the number of defects detected after completion of the sprint. As you can see, we have the various sprints on the x-axis and the total defect leakage on the y-axis. The colors represent a defect leakage level of medium, low, or high. Starting with sprint number 1, you can see that there were 20 bugs that were identified during the sprint and just one bug that was identified after the sprint and is under our permissible level of 7%, so it's in green. Ideally, sprint number 2 is the best case scenario with 0 bugs that leaked out after the sprint. Whereas if you look at sprint 5, there were 12 bugs that were identified during the sprint and 4 bugs that were remaining after the sprint. The performance of a sprint is based on the quality of output that comes from it. If we see a lot of bugs that were supposed to have been squashed during the sprint but actually leaked out, it gives managers an idea as to how successful or unsuccessful the sprint has been. We finally come to one of the most popular features of ManageEngine Analytics Plus, custom dashboards. In Analytics Plus, you can create custom dashboards for almost any activity, role, or situation. You can combine multiple reports, create widgets, track KPIs, and even add dashboard level filters that will ensure all reports on the dashboard can be filtered with a single click. This is a sprint overview dashboard. The sprint overview dashboard has multiple reports, KPIs, and widgets that managers would need to look at while keeping track of an ongoing sprint. So the first widget that we have shows us the overall sprint progress based on story points. So the sprint consists of a total of 50 story points that the team is targeting towards, with 21 story points being completed and 4 story points nearing completion. The sprint burn down report shows us the expected burn in gray, with an average of 5 story points being completed on a working day, and the red line shows us the actual burn down of the task completed. So as we can see, on 5th May, we had an actual burn of 39 while the expected was 40. So we're actually completing tasks faster. But towards the end of the week, we can see that we expected a burn of 25, whereas the actual burn was just 29. So we are deviating away from the expected burn by about 4 points. The next is a story point progress report that shows us day by day story points achieved, as well as a line that shows us the running total of the story points completed in total during the sprint. The work item breakdown shows us different kinds of tasks that are remaining and completed. The ManageEngine Analytics Plus dashboards are very interactive and dynamic. You can change the chart type right within the dashboard view based on your preference. The next report is a delivery-based daily user workload report. This is one of my most favorite reports in this dashboard. As I had told you earlier, the goal is to complete 5 story points on every working day. This view shows us the deliverables based by people and story points on each working day. So hovering on this, we can see on 4th May, Brad is set to deliver a total of 2 story points. Howard is set to deliver 1 story point, and so on and so forth. This chart gives managers an overarching view on what are the upcoming deliverables, who's the DRI or who's responsible for it, and also keep a track of overall workload. To keep a track of overall workload, we can take a look at each assignee and their deliverables. For example, we can look at Brad and we can see that he has no deliverables after the 11th of May. Whereas Lynn has almost 3 story points to deliver on the 15th. So this sort of report gives managers an idea as to how they can distribute their workload. What the manager can do is assign either this 1 story point task of API and tool related changes or a 2 story point task of the HTTPS handling to Brad, who actually has no tasks after the 11th. So therefore, she or he can balance the workload across the entire team. The next data is a table containing the details of the active sprint. It shows us a text-based day-by-day breakdown of the actual issue key directly from Jira, shows us the status of the work, shows us the actual task, who's in charge of it, and the story points. The daily story point variance report shows us a day-by-day variance of the expected story point achieved to the actual story points achieved. So what this means is that on the first day, we had a positive variance of 1. That means we completed 1 story point more than that was expected. Whereas on 8th May, we completed 3 story points less than what was expected. We are almost at the end of today's presentation, and I'd like to summarize what we have covered. We first understood the various elements and factors that project managers have to balance and how they have to play a pretty complex balancing act to perfectly plan and execute their projects. We also understood the problem of tunnel vision that is extremely common and how teams worldwide and across the company have adopted Agile as the go-to project management and development framework. We looked at how Agile has become popular across business teams and that Jira is the leading tool used by software and business teams across the board. Jira has some major problems when it comes to visibility and reporting, with a lack of essential features that cause managers to focus on the micro rather than the macro, and that's the reason we created ManageEngine Analytics Plus for Jira Software and Jira Core. We covered a whole lot of reports, KPIs, and dashboards that we created based on Jira data right within ManageEngine Analytics Plus. And along the way, we also learned how dynamic the Analytics Plus tool can be. I hope you've had an informative session and are walking away with new insights and ideas on how to get a better view into your project and teams, allowing you to better plan and execute your projects. ManageEngine Analytics Plus comes with a 30-day free trial and can be downloaded from the short link shown on the screen. If you have any specific questions or have an analytics challenge that you need assistance with, feel free to email me at rachit@manageengine.com. Thank you and stay safe.